and welcome back. Today we're reviewing I.S.S. This movie is brought to you by the director Gabriela Cowperthwaite. I think that's how you say your name. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. It stars Adriana Debose and John Gallagher Jr. and Chris Messina. And this guy from Game of Thrones, really good. I like the concept of this movie. It's a world event. A world event takes place on Earth while the Russians and Americans are both on ISS. And now they have been ordered to take control. That sounds so great to me. I really like the idea of a claustrophobic political thriller. And when the movie does that, I think it does it really well. Sadly, I don't know that the execution is all there. Like, when the movie is focused on them staring at each other and just looking around and just waiting for a shoe to drop, I think the suspense and the intensity is there. But then later on in the movie, it actually gets to some of the, I guess, more theatrical scenes in the movie where things take place. And it just feels clunky. I don't really buy it. I don't know that I completely buy some of the switches that happen in the movie, like in terms of character pieces where they take a turn for the worse or for the better. I don't know that I completely buy those. I think the movie just kind of falls flat, to be honest with you. Like, the movie had like this movie's only, I think, 95 minutes. I think that's correct. Yeah, 95 minutes. And for like the first like 30 minutes, it feels like you're developing character, you're showing connections between the characters, and you have some humor in there that's adding like levity. And then like there's like, I don't know, 40 minutes after that where you just kind of lose the character development you had. Obviously the levity isn't there because of what's taking place, but where they were doing the interesting things with camera angles and people just looking around waiting for reactions, it turned into this clunky zero gravity fight stuff that I don't think works at all. You don't buy that some of these characters would react the way that they do. And then there's another thing that happens probably about halfway through, and you're like, they didn't see this coming. This feels like a character made a choice that just felt like such a dumb reaction given the criteria and information he was giving from Earth. And the character ends up, something happens to them. I'm not going to reveal what happens. And they just go missing. And toward the end of the movie, they're like, hey, we forgot about this character. Let's bring this character back into the fold and see what they do. The problem is, I don't know that the writers and directors knew what they wanted to do with those characters. And some of the choices don't always make sense. Ultimately, I think that's where this movie kind of just like faceplants is. It feels like they had this really great concept. Like think 10 Cloverfield Lane, really great concept. And they decided in order for us to make this a movie, we have to fill it with other things that would appeal to the mass audience. Unfortunately, I think this movie kind of falls victim to that, in which I think a claustrophobic political thriller is a genius idea. It's almost as if though, and I hate to be this, like make this implication, but it's almost as if though they didn't go past that thought process. They were like, hey, this is a cool idea. Let's write a script and just get it out as soon as possible. 10 Cloverfield Lane, on the other hand, was a really cool concept that took place in a bunker. And in order to sell tickets, they're like, hey, let's make it take place in the Cloverfield universe. And I feel like this movie, without the International Space Station aspect of it, probably not as interesting. Without the political thriller aspect of it, probably not as interesting. And so like the fluff around it doesn't work. And that's sad because I think Adriana Debose, I think the performances in this movie are really good. Like Adriana Debose, really good. I'm going to try to say this guy's name, but the guy from Game of Thrones who plays Euron, Pilou, Asbæk, I think that's how you say his name. Incredible. John Gallagher Jr. has some good parts. Don't ultimately love what they do with his character. Chris Messina, really good. Maria Mashkova, really good. I don't buy the character moments in this movie. Like there's something off and I just can't put my finger on it. Ultimately, I think this movie is victim to just dull execution. Like after the shoe is dropped of the concept of what to expect in the movie, the movie just kind of unfolds. Like I don't feel like there's any stakes. Like I literally legitimately like felt, again, this movie's 95 minutes long, legitimately around like the 50 to 60th mark of the movie. I was like, okay, so what about this? What about this? How do we feel about this? How are they reacting on Earth to this? And it just stopped answering questions. It just stopped being introspective in itself. And I'm not expecting like a movie to just be brilliant all the time. Like that's a lot to expect. I expect a good movie though, and I'm not sure this was a good movie. And then the ending. I'll give it $1.50.5. The ending sucks. I feel like I get what they were trying to go for, but it's the weakest of weak sauce that I've ever seen in my life. It's so incredibly flat that I just don't buy it. And the movie just ends on that note, and it leaves a very disappointing taste in your mouth, which is unfortunate because the concept of this movie is really good. It's got such great talent attached to it, but the movie just does not work. So, do I recommend this movie? I don't think so, man. Like, this is a very January movie. Like, it's very generic. There's nothing about it that's special. I'm not shocked that it was placed in January. Anyhow, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Adios.